So this, welcome to another TerranScapes video. This is an unusual video, but I thought I'd put it up because as I've mentioned a couple times in the past, I've purchased an airbrush and I've been trying to learn how to use it, and I've been getting a little bit better, but one of the things that I really struggled with when I first got it was trying to figure out how to best clean it. And I noticed that when I had looked around for airbrush tips before, I didn't get any real instructions on how to clean it, how to keep the nozzle free of debris so that it sprays properly, and in fact, I still struggle a little bit with it. So what I thought I'd do is post how I'm cleaning it and see, if you're interested in getting an airbrush, this is maybe a piece of information that you might be thinking about, like how much does it take to set it up, how much does it take to break it down, and for some small projects it might not be worthwhile getting it, but I don't know, I'm trying to see how fast I can get it cleaned and set up so that I can feel a little more free to use it on more variety of projects. So basically I've been spraying a dark blue, and I'm just going to dump out the paint here into a cup, save that, I don't know. Now, one of the tips that I saw on a website or a post was putting a small screen inside of your bowl to catch dried bits of paint, which will clog up the nozzle really fast. And in fact, when I first started using it, I had that as a major problem. So I had some screen here that was from some art supplies. It's like a brass, very fine mesh screen. You could probably get something similar to a hardware store. I just folded it into a little bowl. I just push it in the cup, and then that way when I pour paint into it, most of the sediment will collect on top of this and won't go through the actual nozzle. I also keep a couple cups of water around for the cleaning because I don't want to take it over to the sink, because I like to keep it attached to the air compressor so I can blow out materials when I'm cleaning it. So I just rinse that out. That's clean. That's off to the side. Then I put a little bit of water into the bowl, and if you put your finger over the nozzle tip, let's see if I can angle it here properly. Put your finger over the nozzle tip, you hold in the air. This is a double action airbrush, so it's got, when you pull it back, it moves the needle. I'll show you that when I take the nozzle off. And then when you push down on it, it includes air. So when I push the air and then I pull it back, you can see, oh, there we go. You can see it foaming in there. So it's just forcing a little air back into the bowl, kind of mix up some of that paint. And then I have a trash cup. I just dump that in. I usually do that a couple times just to thin it out. Real quick. Dump that out. There we go. Then, one of the things, well, alright, first, I don't know. I don't have a plan for this. I'm just going through it, so bear with me. It's nice to, I bought a cleaning pot, which I don't really use for cleaning as much, but it's a very nice holder, so just holds the airbrush out of the way. When you take off the nozzle of the airbrush, there are two covers for it. One is the like the spray nozzle, which kind of directs the stream, and then one is a cover that goes over the needle of it itself. That you need to clean off, and that's usually pretty easy to clean. I recommend that you pick up some small pipe cleaner brushes. I bought a set. I don't know why it doesn't come with the airbrush. I think that would be appropriate, but in any case, I picked up a set when I bought the airbrush because I figured I didn't know what the heck I was going to need to do to clean it, so I wanted to get something that was going to do as much as I thought I might need. The inside of this cup actually stays perfectly clean, so I don't have to clean that bit, but I just brush off the outside, and that's actually all it needs. And then I give the nozzle a bit of a scrubbing, dip it in some water. And that's pretty clean too. If you clean it right away, actually, it's pretty easy to clean. So then this is the part that sometimes is a little more fiddly. So inside there's a reservoir. Well, let's see if I can show you that real quick. Inside there's a reservoir that sits down below the bowl that catches the last drops. Oh God, I'm shooting this over my shoulder, so that's a little weird. There we go. That's a little bit angle. And this is where the needle passes through as well. So I try to just brush out the paint in there because I don't want to pull the needle forward and get paint on it. So I want the bowl to be just about as clean as possible. I try to be gentle though. I don't want to bend the needle, but it's pretty strong, so I don't really have to worry about it. And that's actually looking not too bad in there. And then actually, the best thing I find for cleaning out paint out of your airbrush bowl is acetone. I tried a bunch of things and I found that not really a lot would get it out or soften the paint, especially in areas that I can't get a brush into. So I use a little bit of acetone, and it's super volatile. It evaporates really, really quickly, so I try not to leave the container open very much. And I'm just going to put in literally a couple drops. Just enough to kind of mix it around in there. And then actually, I take a little tissue, soak it back up, and then use that to wipe out the inside of the bowl. And that gets it pretty much sparkling clean. You know, I'm really phobic about little bits of debris in the airbrush, because any small bit of debris clogs the nozzle in about 3 seconds. So that looks pretty good. So the last thing, the most important part to clean, is the actual nozzle and the needle itself. Your airbrush should come with a little wrench, and the wrench fits right onto the, let's see if I can, there we go. The wrench fits right onto a little chuck that actually is the cap for the needle that controls the paint flowing through it. And that just unscrews, but this cap is super, super small. So I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it, so I try to be really careful about it and set it down somewhere. I usually don't overscrew it like this over the edge of the table because I'm afraid that's going to come out. Then there's a release nut for the back to release the needle itself. Once I do that, I can use tweezers, and I just reach inside the bowl and I walk the needle forward, and the needle will come out, and then you can see there's some paint on the needle. So that I want to wipe off. So again, I'm going to use a little bit of acetone, so I find it just works really quick and easily. I usually pull the needle out a little bit. I don't pull it all the way out because I don't want it to come out of the trigger, although I find that you can do that if you're careful, and you can put another needle in pretty easily. But I don't need to do that this time, so I'm not going to. But that's how you would change the needle also. Actually, you back it out, the back end of the brush, and then you can put the new needle in and a new cap if you want to change the size. So then the trick is cleaning the inside of this little tip. And this little tip, I haven't figured out a very good way to do that, actually. And it was really perplexing me for a while. And I eventually figured out that the easiest way to do it is to actually just get a little bit of acetone right in that tip. I'm going to see if I can show you how small that is. That's just ridiculous. The only thing that fits in this opening is the needle itself. I can't use a toothpick or a tack or maybe a sewing needle. So what I do is I just try to put a little drop of acetone right on it, and then I use the needle. Hopefully that's a little bit in the picture there. And then I work that acetone in there with the needle. And as I move it back and forth, I push out gunky paint out the front of the needle, and I try to rotate it and scrape it all out and clean it up. This has got to be the most important part, because dried paint in there blocks that tip in about, like I said, literally in about 3 seconds. And in fact, when I was just using it, it felt blocked up and it wasn't spraying right, and I'm not sure why, because I thought I'd cleaned it really well the last time I used it. So part of what I'm putting this video up for is not only for people who maybe are considering getting an airbrush or gotten one, but also if anybody's out there who's got an airbrush and they've got better tips on how to keep things clean, I'm always eager to hear new ideas. Alright, so that's actually looking pretty good. So now when the needle's poking out, I'm rubbing it around the sides gently. I don't want to bend the needle. They're stronger than they look, but I don't want to score the inside of the cap. I don't want to bend the tip of the needle. So I just gently work it around the edges and push it out and keep seeing until it starts pushing out clean all the time. The acetone really loosens up that dried paint in there, and it's the only thing. Before I was just trying to clean it without the acetone, and I ended up, you just push a plug of dried paint to the top, and then the needle wouldn't even come out because the dried plug of paint was blocking it. So I find that this is the only way I've been able to really get a good clean, at least as clean as I can, the inside of that little tip. First I was worrying about the gaskets for the tip. There's a small washer around the outside of it that I worried might deteriorate from the acetone, but I think because the acetone is so volatile, it evaporates so fast, I don't really think it's causing any real damage to it. I mean, it's it's one of those maintenance parts that occasionally you'll just have to replace from time to time, I'm sure. All right, well, that's what I think is clean. I don't know if it is. I can't see in there, but it looks like it's coming out clean. So then, with the needle still loose, I slide it back on. I just screw it back in real quick. I give it a a gentle crank with the little key that comes with it, little wrench, so it's snug. And that actually will preset the needle to the proper depth to poke out of the cone. Then I just clamp it back down, and you can see here when I activate. Well, let's see, maybe you can see this. Is that focused? It doesn't look focused. There we go. So when I pull back on the needle, you can see the tip going in and out. That's what activates the paint. So with a double action airbrush, you can activate the paint amount irrespective of the air pressure. So then when you apply pressure, the air is constant, and then as you draw it back, you begin to release paint. So that's one of the advantages of a double airbrush. I can't see using a single action actually after I've been using this. Seems like that'd be the way to go. Well, in that case, I'm done. I put on the cap that mixes the paint with the air. This redirects the airflow that comes out of the bottom to hit the tip of the needle, mixes the paint, sprays it, the airbrush nozzle, put my cap back on it, and I'm done. So that's cleaning an airbrush. That's how I do it. If anybody out there knows a better way to do it, or has any tips about how to keep the nozzle clean other than using a screen in the bowl and just trying to be careful about how well you clean it, I'd love any tips or comments. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Well, I lied. I wasn't done. Actually, when I watched the video, I realized I forgot one of the spots that I normally try to clean, again, because I'm worried about all the different things that could block paint. So I actually got a small tripod, and then I can show you from this angle, and we'll see if this works. But before, I kind of wanted to just show you all the different cups and stuff that I have around, and how I kind of have the setup for it. Any case, so what I forgot to clean is the actual tube that the needle runs through. Usually I clean that as well because it's another spot where paint can dry. So we're going to go back basically, and we're going to clean from this point out to the needle, which is a spot I didn't get at. So I'm going to take off the cap for the needle again, the needle cone with my little key here. While I'm doing this, I realized that I was also curious about how long it takes me to clean this, and it looks like it takes me about 10 minutes based on that previous segment. So, I don't know. Seems like a little while. So I'm going to loosen that up, and then, now that the needle is clean, I'm not going to be afraid about pushing it back into the body of the housing. I really don't want to get paint in back here. I have taken the trigger out. First time I disassembled this, I took the needle all the way out, and the trigger fell out, and it's kind of a little trick to get it all back in there. It's not terribly difficult, and you probably should do it once just so you understand how your airbrush works, but it's not something I want to do every time. So now the needle's clean, and so I'm not afraid to push it back into the body of the oh, whoops, wait a minute, I gotta do one more thing. So we gotta take off this little end cap here. This is a block that you can set to restrict the motion of the trigger if you just want to be able to do just tiny amounts of paint at a time and have it controlled. So I gotta take that back off in order to walk the needle back. So I'm gonna walk the needle back here, and in fact now you can see it starting to come out the back. So I can pull it back into the body, and I usually leave it within the trigger. In fact, you can see it, well, you might not be able to see it here, but there's a little, you can see the trigger in a cutout right here. You can see the needle going through it. So I leave it there. And then I get my trusty brushes again, and this time I think I have to use a pretty small one. I think this is the only brush that fits in there. And excuse me while I get some acetone. And then I put a little acetone right on that brush. There we go. I don't know what I'm going to do when my acetone gets low enough. I can't just dip a brush in there. I hate to waste it, and not that it's terribly expensive, but it just evaporates so fast. So I put a little acetone on there, and then I clean out. Oh, there we go, in the camera mic, that helps. And then I clean out that spot there. So you can see, well, the lighting is poor on this angle, but I can see the brush going in and out of the bowl, and that's another spot, you know. Yeah, see, the bowl's not entirely clean at the bottom there. It's really pretty tricky to get at it. Anyway, so I do that. I rinse it out in some water, and when I rinse it out in some water, oftentimes I can see little flecks of dried paint coming off the brush. So that kind of is an indicator of how clean it is inside here. So then I do that at least twice. Give that a good scrubbing in there. Rinse that in my water. Well, it looks clean. Looks pretty good. In fact, I didn't do much spraying, so I think that's pretty clean. Any case, then to really finish it up now, then I walk the needle back forward. These are handy little tweezers to have. If you don't have a pair, then that's a good pair of tweezers to have. I bring it out to the top. Oh, and then look at that. So you can see just a little bit of maybe a tinge of blue on a drop of acetone. So see, it really wasn't entirely clean, but it's pretty clean. And then put it back into the needle cap there. I don't know what the proper names of these parts are. That's just what I call it. Screw that back on. Get in there. Just tighten it down just a little bit. Doesn't need to be too much. Get my cap back on there. And now it's really clean. So I just wanted to show you that, you know, that at first, when I first started cleaning the airbrush, I didn't think to clean in that tube, and after I'd used it for several times, it really got built up with a lot of gunk, and that's yet another way that the paint leaving here can get blocked from coming out the sprayer properly. So really it's important to get that clean, and I try to clean it every time I use it. But I don't clean it in between paint change, color changes, for instance, though. But at the end of the session, I always go in there and clean that out. So anyway, hope that helps. Thanks for watching.